customer service, done right, can be your company's single biggest competitive advantage. Welcome to the Customer Service Revolution. Join customer service authority and best-selling author John DiJulius as he interviews leaders who are revolutionizing their industries. This is more than a podcast, though. It's a movement. The Customer Service Revolution is a radical overthrow of conventional business mentality designed to transform what customers and employees experience. If you're a revolutionary customer service leader who's ready to stop competing on price and obsessed with building a brand that people cannot live without, this podcast is for you. Welcome to the Customer Service Revolution podcast with John DiJulius. In this week's episode, Chief Revolution Officer John DiJulius speaks with customer service expert Shep Hyken about his new book, I'll Be Back: How to Get Customers to Come Back Again and Again. In this episode, you'll learn how to design and create an experience that gets customers to return again and again. The difference between repeat customers and loyal customers. The one trackable trend that leaders must monitor every morning. Why most loyalty programs fail to create customer loyalty. How delivering an amazing customer service experience is within reach of every employee of the organization. How to personalize the customer experience. And loyalty killers that can terminate your relationship with your customers. Now here's your host, John DiJulius.
Welcome, revolutionaries, to another podcast of the Customer Service Revolution. And I am so excited today because I have my mentor, my idol, and what I'm proudest is who's become a close personal friend, the one and only Shep Hyken. Welcome, Shep.
It's great to be here, and a friend over everything.
Friend over everything, yes. And, a little context with Shep. Shep, this week, your 8th book on customer service, customer experience has come out, and it is so exciting. It's already hit number 1. It's already a best-selling book.
I don't know about that, but
that
hopefully.
Pisses me off for a couple of reasons. I don't, would you just stop already? When people ask me, when you ask me what you could do to help me, I say retire. Okay. 8th book, Shep, you gotta stop. You're just setting the bar too high. So tell me about your newest book that just dropped this week. I'll Be Back.
Yep,
tell me what it's about and why it's so necessary now.
Well, I'll be back. How to get customers to come back again and again. And isn't that what we want? I think regardless of the times we're in, good times, bad times, strange times, pandemic times, we always have a reason to do what we do. And the goal is if we do it well, we do it right, the customer is going to say, you know what, I like doing business with you so much that I'd like to come back. Ideally, they'd recommend us to their friends, family, colleagues as well. But really, that's the most important thing. We want them to come back. I'll give you some background on the book. This is where it came from. And you're going to laugh because a number of years ago, and you and I talked about this. As a matter of fact, we might have even had dinner when I was in Cleveland to do the event, because one of the events were in Cleveland. I was asked to speak at a franchise convention of salon owners and managers, right? And I'm thinking, they hired the bald guy to come in and talk to salon managers. It's like, how am I going to get my market research, right? Anyway, so I'm interviewing the CEO. And we're talking about the most important measurement. And we're talking about like how I feel about NPS, Net Promoter Score. Anybody listening to this should probably know on a scale of 0 to 10, what's the likelihood that you'd recommend us? That's, the question. And then you get the answer 0 to 10, and that's your score, right? And as you accumulate them, customer satisfaction scores, any kind of feedback you get. And we all think these are really important, and they are. The way I interpret it, it's always a history lesson. It's what happened yesterday on your most recent visit, the last time you did business was. Now, history is really important because you want history to repeat itself if it's good, and you want to eliminate it if it's bad or avoid it. And so we learn from this. But he gave me an insight, and I hadn't really thought about it. He says, all those are really important to us as well, but we also measure behavior. And I go, okay, tell me more about that. He goes, well, we know, and John, you know from your background in the salon business, somebody that gets their hair cut, like, you may get your hair cut once a month. A woman may come in once a week to have her hair done, or even a man for that matter. But the point is, there's a cadence. Different types of customers have a different cadence, but there is a cadence for each of these customers to determine whether or not They're regular customers. And his goal was to move the first-time customer or the once-in-a-while customer into the cadence of whatever type of customer they are. And I thought, well, that's brilliant. So this has been mulling around in my mind for probably 5 years now, 4 or 5 years. And I was just writing some articles and it seemed to be resonating with me. Once again, I said, it's time to write a book. What would I call it? I would call it I'll Be Back, because that's what we want our customers to say. That's where it all started.
I love it. I love it. And you sent me an advance copy and I inhaled it and I learned a lot from it, as I always do with all your content. And there's so many things I like about it. It is apropos for the times we're in. But listen, customer experience wins in any economy. One thing I saw something, it's the service, stupid. Like when people keep on asking Chick-fil-A, well, what's your secret? It's the service, stupid. Like, repeat it. And you point this out in your book. And I'm okay with NPS if you have the type of business, let's say like a fast food or whatever, where you can't track customer referrals. But, in my salon business, in our consulting businesses, I don't want to know your intent. I want to know if you're actually doing it.
Right.
So now I do that with my hairdressers back when I was involved in that salon. I could say, surely 10% of your clients have referred you new customers where, the salon average, or I can do that with my consultants. And that's, and you talk about this, the expense and the obsession with going after new versus retaining and referring. And obviously, if I'm going to refer, you must have made me pretty happy. And something I just read, Shep, that I never knew before. Tesla, the number one car company in the world, spends $0 on advertising. And Tony Hsieh never advertised for Zappos. Yet, they're obviously super successful because they focus on the customer experience. They focus on making you happy. And then, I know I'm speaking to the choir, but the happy customer ends up being a better marketing campaign than anything my billboards or Facebook ads could do.
Right. Now, by the way, do not confuse not paying for advertising with paying for public relations, publicity.
Understood.
Okay. And I do believe, I don't know if Zappos, I know when I go to the airport, I see Zappos is on this is the tray. On the container you put your bag in as it goes through the metal detector. They're powered by Zappos. It's on there. So I don't know where that came from.
I don't
Maybe
know
that's because it's in Vegas and he's building up Vegas.
Right.
And I say he was Tony Hsieh. He passed away last year.
Yeah.
Very, very sad for many of us. I actually, Jen Lim?
I of her.
So Jen was his partner in the Happiness Project and delivering happiness. And when I talked to her the other day and we just started reminiscing, it was emotional for her and actually for me too. Anyway,
me too. He was a legend to us. Like you, I wrote a blog one time of the Mount Rushmores of customer experience.
I remember that.
I had Walt Disney. I had Horst Schulze.
Yep.
And these are leaders, not speakers, experts, authors. I had Jeff Bezos and Tony Hsieh. And you could argue, Howard Schultz and Dan Cathy and all them, they all deserve. But man, you couldn't talk about an icon. And so back to this, your book, I'll Be Back. How to get customers to come
today,
back again and again.
Where books are sold.
But here's the thing, Shep. To me, the number one, there's a lot of KPIs for, when you tie. But to me, if your company can, I think referrals should be retention. And then
the customer
referrals should be like neck and neck and forget about everything else, because satisfaction scores, that trumps satisfaction scores.
Yep. We need to know. So, the question is, does the customer come back? And that's important. Now, on the Net Promoter Score, you talked about being active. And by the way, I believe every business can benefit from NPS. It's just you have to understand what it means. Even if they have the intent to recommend or would be willing to recommend, that tells you did a good job. It tells you a number. You're able to look into, the question does a number of things. However, if you're in the type of business where you can then pick up the phone and call the customer and say, I noticed you gave me a 10 on the scale of 0 to 10. Would you recommend? Yeah. Who? Ask the question. Don't just say, oh, great, we got a 10. No, ask them. Who would you recommend us? Get the names, get the numbers. Would you be willing to do an email introduction? Whatever it is. Find out, because that's how salespeople can use this NPS score. And by the way, even though you'll say, Shep, this is a book about customer service and experience. Yes, it is. But everything we do, every interaction we have, and that includes the sales process, you sell with service. And therefore, to make
this is a book about employee experience. I mean,
yeah.
I'll be back, or I'll stay, or I'm not going anywhere.
Exactly.
It applies. You talk about so many good things. And what I like about the book is there's practical ideas that apply whether I'm a Fortune 500 or a mom and pop startup. That doesn't mean I need to hire, a team of just customer experience evangelists to execute. So let's get to it. How do you design and create an experience that gets customers return again and again and talk about you?
So, let me jump to the last chapter, chapter 15. This is where the rubber hits the road. It's actually my favorite chapter. I'm going to give you a lot of meat in this chapter.
So you think maybe it shouldn't have been chapter 15?
Well, I think if you go to any page, if you open up to any page in this book, you will say, oh my gosh, here's another idea. And I purposely mean this is filled with bite-sized chunks. Now, so
it's
how
an
do we do it?
ATM machine of ideas.
I mean, the ATM machine of ideas.
It's spitting out money-making ideas.
You can find me every street corner. So anyway,
all right,
I don't know where I'm going with that.
The 6 steps to create the I'll be back experience.
There you go. Isn't that what you just asked me about?
Yes.
Then I'm going to give it to you. And here they are. I'm holding nothing back. The 6 steps. Number 1, ask yourself, why would someone do business with me? Basically, why me instead of them, the competition? Right. And there needs to be different answers than, oh, my people are really good. Oh, I've got great service, because that's exactly what your competitor
everyone else
might say. So what are the true differences? Number 2, ask what would make a customer do business with them instead of us. In other words, why would a customer go to the competitor? And it's important that you really understand what your competition is doing. If you don't know, you are putting yourself in the vulnerable position of just not being relevant to your customers anymore. You need to know about your competition. If they're doing something that you're not, do it. And number 3, I call it keeping pace. Keeping pace is saying, if they're doing something that we're not doing, could we be doing it? Should we be doing it? And if so, let's start doing it. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to make it a little different. You can't just copy. Otherwise, that makes you a commodity, right? And then it's all, and I know how you like to make price irrelevant. I believe if you're a commodity, price is completely relevant. So we can't be the same. And to give you an example, I talk about the amenity wars that hotels had years ago, where let's try to outdo the next hotel with a better amenity. And some really smart hotelier said, why don't we give all of our business people newspapers? And so when they check in, hey, do you like a newspaper in the morning? We've got free newspapers for you. Come down here. They'll be waiting for you behind the front desk. Just say, hey, where's my paper? Pretty nice. Then the hotel across the street said, did you hear they're giving away newspapers over there? We need to do that too, but let's make it better. Let's make it so when the guest comes in, we tell them there'll be a newspaper at their door when they open it in the morning. We'll deliver the newspaper to the door. Then another hotel guy said, oh my God, do you see what they're doing at those hotels? How can we make it even better? I know. When they come in, let's ask them what their favorite newspaper is. Would they rather have the local paper, the Wall Street Journal, the USA Today? And that's the paper we'll deliver to their door. And you see what's happening? It's an amenity war. But the point is, they didn't just copy. They made it better. All right. So that's step 3. Step 4 is to go outside of your industry. And this is really important because this is where you get to go from best in industry to best in class.
Yes.
And you look at all the companies. And by the way, you do this all in a team setting. So you get interaction and feedback from different people in different parts of the company. Important to get all the different perspectives. But this one especially, what are your favorite companies that you love to do business with? It can be a retailer, it can be a restaurant, it could be the manufacturer that supplies your little widgets that you put on your machines if you're in the B2B world. Why do you love doing business with them? So that's step 4 is list all these companies and why you love them. And then step 5, what are they doing? These companies doing that you're not doing, that you love, that you could be doing. Now, you need to read between the lines. And I've sat in on this exercise before. We have our trainers that go out and deliver our content, just like you're trainers do. And this is one of the exercises we put them through. And by the way, what do you think the number one response is? We say, who are your favorite companies to do business with? I'll bet
Amazon,
you know.
Apple.
Amazon. That is the correct answer. Thanks for playing the game. So here's what happens. Amazon. And then why do you like Amazon? And John, why would you like Amazon?
Ease of doing business.
Great. Yep.
Convenience, hassle-free. I know if I screw up or they screw up, they'll make it right.
Okay, great. Anything else you love about them?
Well, I didn't know this, but I read Jeff Bezos' last shareholder letter, but they save us 75 hours a year.
They save us 75 hours a year by making it convenient. That's pretty freaking
factor in
cool.
parking, driving, walking in, checking out.
I'm writing that one down. I've got to go read that.
I'll send it to you.
Okay. That may be worth an article or two or three or four. So here's what we heard. The one guy says, one of the people said, I love Amazon because the moment I place my order, I get a confirmation in the email. Then they email me to tell me it's shipped, and they email me when it arrives. I love that. And somebody in the audience who was like the CEO or president of the company said, well, that's great. They're an e-commerce company. We're not an e-commerce company. We manufacture, and they base cardboard boxes is what they manufacture. And he says, that really doesn't apply to us. And I was watching. I said, no, it 100% applies to you. It's not the emails that he really likes. What does he like? The emails are a vehicle to creating this confidence that he has that something's being done, that his order was placed, that it's been shipped. He now has access to this information. The information gives him
Domino's does
control.
it with the pizza tracker.
Yeah. Don't you love it? It's on its way. Well, it's supposed to be here.
Down the street.
I know. But that's the point. We're giving our customers information that gives them confidence.
It's also managing expectations, which I think is critical. We have a customer that, especially today with the supply chain issues, right? We have a customer that was getting a lot of complaints, manufacturer, from their retailers. And they were like, well, what do you want us to do? Like, we're out of stock on something. Well, when we found out that— Tell us. The first time they shouldn't find out is when they open the box on Tuesday and they have a customer standing there because I said, hey, Shep, it'll be on a Tuesday. And then it's not there. And I see on the invoice, packaging slip, out of stock. That can't be the first time you find out.
Right. But that's the whole point, is to write down all of the things that you love about these companies. It could be a restaurant. It could be a shoe repair store, or it could be there's some inside sales rep at this company that you just love the way they connect with you and stay in touch. All of these things are written down. And then step 5 is to say, okay, once we look at these things that we love about these other companies that aren't in our industry, what can we do to implement them? Step 6 is to go back and modify the question ever so slightly that you started with. And here's how you do it. Here's the modification. Now that we've done all of this, or we're going to do, now why would somebody want to do business with us instead of the competition? And what you've just done, if you've done this the right way and you take the time to do it, and it isn't done in one day, it's taken over time because you have to take the time to implement and put these in your process. Now that you're doing this, you can come back and say, we have even more ways to differentiate yourself and make price, as John DiJulius says, irrelevant. I say less relevant. You say irrelevant. I like yours better. It's more spectacular.
No, I love it. And there's so many pearls here. One of my favorites of the 6 is outside the industry. And so many people, the great ones, look outside the industry. And you've heard this. And it might have been Steve Jobs that said this, but don't ask the customers what they want. Create something they can't live without, right? And if you think about all the disruptors, right? Starbucks, if they would have asked people in 1980 what they wanted a coffee drinking experience, people would have laughed at them and said, what do you mean a coffee drinking experience? There's 2 ways: without cream, without sugar, for 25 cents. You wouldn't have gotten, answers that Starbucks eventually came out with. And then, I know about, Southwest, when they were last in turnaround times of their planes, didn't look at the number 1 airline. They looked at NASCAR pit crews, right? That's the brilliance. So real quickly, because this is important, repeat those 6 steps.
I'll do them quick in a row. Number 1, why would a customer do business with me? You ask the question. Number 2, why would a customer do business with them? You ask that question. Number 3, you keep pace. What are they doing that you're not doing that you could be doing, but make it your own? Number 4, look outside the industry. Who are the companies you love and why? Write them all down. Number 5, take what you've written down, the things you love, and say, what is it here that I could put into our business? And by the way, if it's outside of your industry, feel free to copy if it works. And then number 6, go back and ask after you've implemented and put these into your process, go back and ask now, why would somebody do business with me? And you'll see hopefully a pretty good difference, a differentiation that will show, that'll show up on the bottom line. It'll show up with less churn of your customers.
No, that's all helping these businesses create their signature experience that is unique. And you know, these companies, when they have a signature experience, you know when someone's knocking them off, right? Like, yep. And then not in a bad way, but all of a sudden, Dillard started coming around the counter and handing you your bag, where they had never done that before until Nordstrom's entered the market, right? So, Shep, you talk about, I love this part. There's a difference. Don't be fooled just because a customer comes back. You know, repeat customers versus loyal customers. Explain that to our listeners.
Huge. So we love repeat customers. And by the way, just like, we were talking about NPS and CSAT and all that, you need those scores. Don't discount them because I said more important is, does the customer come back? No, you still need to understand history. With repeat business, you do not want to say, I don't want repeat business, I want loyal business, because the only way you get to loyalty is through repetition. But if you see a customer that's coming back again and again, you have to understand why they're coming back, because why they're coming back may not have anything to do with the fact that they love you. It could
you're
be
across the street.
Exactly. Instead of
the
2 miles
right-hand
away.
turn.
Right. Exactly. Right-hand turn, which means you don't have to cross the median for traffic. Right. All of the reasons. You might have the lowest price, and that means your customer loves your price. They don't love you. And as soon as somebody has a better price, guess what? Gone. That's the end of that. Maybe you have a program, you call it a loyalty program because it drives loyalty. No, it doesn't. It drives repeat business. If I'm in a restaurant and I give you a punch card and I tell you that on the 5th time I punch this card, when you come in here 5 times, your sandwich is free. That's basically a 20% discount. And maybe you love the fact that you get that discount. How about frequent flyer miles? You and I love frequent flyer miles. We travel all over the world. And John, I'm going to bet you have one particular airline that has most of your miles.
I used to, Shep, but then Cleveland lost.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. But before that, the average person, that's what they do. Right. They try to accumulate on one airline.
Correct. Right? I used to. It had to be on them, even if it was higher priced or less inconvenient, because I wanted that status.
But not just the status. You wanted, a lot of people say, I accumulate my points because if I spread it out over 5 airlines, it's going to take me a really long time to get that free trip.
I'm not too high on anything now because I do exactly that.
Yep. So here is the point. The airlines see all these customers coming back again and again and again, and they realize their loyalty program is driving the repeat business, but it's not a loyalty program. It's a repeat business program. It's a marketing program, not to be confused with a true loyalty program. And I'll talk about what that looks like if you want in just a few minutes. But if the airlines, back in the day when you were flying the main airline out of Cleveland where you live, if they were, and every other airline were to say, no more points, we're not doing it anymore. After January 1st, there will be no more points, no more perks. We just want you to fly our airline because we're great. Would you have stayed on that same airline?
No, not in the airline. No.
Yeah. And that's the point. You're loyal to the points, to the marketing program, to the frequent flyer mile program. Now, that is what we want. If I'm flying and I fly on a particular airline, I accumulate all my points and they take them all away, as they do for everybody, not just me. Ideally, they would be good enough to hold on to my business. So that's what we're talking about here. And it's the airline that does a great job. And I can tell you, most people say, if you couldn't have the points, what airline would you fly? What do you think they say, John?
Southwest.
Exactly. What are they doing right? Well, we can learn a lot from Southwest Airlines, right? So anyway,
and to that point, Shep, I will never and have never taken Spirit. I don't care if you give it to me. I just can't do that.
I've flown on airlines like Spirit for...
So have I.
Yeah, and we know every time we do it, we go, why did I do this?
Yeah, but Spirit has just, have gone, it's not even the inconvenience and, that you have to pay to sneeze and all that, but they're not good at customer service.
You want to know what it is, really? I mean, I could tolerate having to pay and,
Right.
having to buy my number to get on the
Right.
plane, pay for the overhead spots.
Yeah.
I could pay for all of that, right? But the people, they just need to be
That's
a
what
little
that's
bit
what I
nicer.
mean.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And that comes from the top.
What if you had access to the secrets world-class companies know that enable them to deliver a consistently great customer experience? The DiJulius Group believes some secrets are better shared. That's why we created a framework that divulges what world-class companies know in a simple, easy-to-follow system. Get access now by enrolling in the Customer Experience Executive Academy. Visit cxea.org or email Claudia@thedijuliusgroup.com for more information.
So let's talk about loyalty for just
Let's
a
talk
moment.
about loyalty program, Shep.
Yeah, the true
Why they
loyalty
failed
program
to
isn't about
create
points.
Customer loyalty.
Yeah, it's not about points. It's about loyalty. It's about, would you do business with me without the points? And there's plenty of companies that do that. And I'll give you an example of something that drives, before I do that, what do they call the Amazon Prime? Is it a loyalty program?
No.
It's a membership program.
It's a membership,
Okay.
yes. And
Great.
Listen, one of your books was all about membership. Was it The Amazement Revolution?
Very good. Very
Yes.
good. The
I
Amazement
love
Revolution.
that book. I love all your books, but that was a great book. If you're listening, after you read, I'll be back. Get The Amazement Revolution, because it was all about, companies like Amazon and American Express and how you can view your customer base as members.
Right. So that was the first chapter, the membership experience.
Yes.
I started off where the book was going to be titled similar to what American Express's tagline is, membership has its privileges. And that's what we titled the chapter instead, because I didn't feel it warranted the entire book at the time. Anyway, I digress. A membership program can drive loyalty because you've elected to pay for something. And if you think about what the Prime membership is for Amazon, it's $129 now. That's not a small amount of money. For most people, that's a pretty good investment. Am I going to get my money back in the form of free shipping, in the form of the Prime movies and TV shows, and now music? There's different things that Jeff Bezos says we're going to do to make sure people want to stay a member of our program, which is going to help drive the repeat business and ideally
Bundling.
loyalty. Right. So then there's Restoration Hardware. Love their program. Here's what it is. Pay me a small fee, and it is pretty small. And you get incredible discounts on your furniture. You get access to our people who will help you, our interior designers. And so you're paying for a service, but you get far more benefit. I kind of feel like they're heading toward loyalty in this, but to me, Nike has the top example of this. And that is, sign up for a program, you get nothing. Well, you do get something, but it's not in the form of a discount or anything like that. It's the form of, we know who you are now, and we know what you like to buy, and we're only going to send you information on the things that you like to buy.
Right.
And we're going to send you more than just product promotion. We're going to send you information about, if I'm buying golf shoes, I'm going to understand why this is a better golf shoe than another one. Why maybe there's a golf tip in there. They're going to give me information and content that's relevant to me. Has nothing to, and you know what? As a consumer, I like that. And that's why I'm going to go to you. And also, I trust you. You made it easy to do business with them. Free returns if it doesn't work out, that kind of thing. But that's an interesting membership program that has no benefit other than, it creates a better fan of the company.
Right.
So,
Well, everyone's trying to move to the SaaS model, right?
Yeah.
And service as a subscription. Shep, how can, in this crazy times, whether I'm big, my company's big or small, how can we personalize it today? That's hard.
Yeah, personalization, it's really interesting. We do this study now every year where we interview over 1,000 consumers. And I just wrote an article that personalization was number 8 on the list of what was important. And you think, wow, but everybody's talking about personalization. But you have to understand what the whole list was. I asked what was important to customers, and this is what they gave me. They told me what was important, and it happened to be personalization was on the list. But guess there's a lot of things that aren't important that people don't really care about that were on that list that they said, no, I don't really, that's not necessary. But here's what's interesting. 75% of customers said they would value you more and come back more as a company if you provided personalization. And personalization could be in the form of just remembering who I am, what I bought. If you're going to send me a promotion, it's a personalized promotion. So in good times and bad times, if you want to have a little bit more of an ownership level of your customer, make them feel like they belong there. You know, I call it the Cheers effect. Remember Cheers? You go to a place where everybody
talk about first books. My first book, which was Secret Service, my original name was Mastering the Norm Factor, which I was so happy I changed it because, you know, the younger generation has no idea who Norm is.
It's funny. By the way, you'll notice on the book, the font of the title, I'll Be Back, is called Terminator font.
Terminator, yeah.
People ask me all the time, does your book have anything to do with the Terminator? And well, if you read the subtitle, How to Get Customers to Come Back Again and Again, it really doesn't.
Right.
However, I couldn't resist. 3 paragraphs into writing just my outline I thought, who made I'll Be Back famous? Those words, Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie Terminator.
Right.
So I started thinking about, well, I could talk about why would customers terminate their relationship with the companies they do business with. They'd say, hasta la vista, baby.
Right. Yeah.
And why would, what do you need to do to get the customer to say, I'll be back? And if you can, you've just won. Like there's the Oscar for acting, there's the Grammy for music, and there's the Arnie for customer service. What's cool is that Arnie doesn't even know we named an award after him.
Right. So, all right, Shep, if I'm B2B, how do I personalize?
Here's the thing about B2B. Everything in this book works for B2B, B2C, and even the government. But the problem with B2B, I think it's a more difficult job that, let me rephrase this. B2B, all of this is even more important than B2C. And here's what's interesting is people in the B2B world say, we're not B2C. All the things you write about are B2C. And I go, are you nuts? Everything I write about applies to everybody. Because, I mean, if you're even an e-commerce company, they go, how does this apply to us? I go, let me ask you, do you sell to another e-commerce, to a computer? Do you sell to a person? Okay. And the business to business world, if I want to buy a pair of blue jeans, I can go into a mall and there's probably 10 stores that I can go to buy these jeans. However, in the B2B world, if I want to buy a very specific piece of equipment, there might only be 5 companies in the entire world, not just in a mall where there's 50 malls in a location in a city. Think about it. If you make a mistake and you lose that business, it's so much harder to get it back. And I have clients that sell automation, and sometimes they told me that their equipment, they service it with annual contracts, but the equipment, it might be 15 years before they buy a new piece of equipment. So if you make a mistake and you don't make the customer feel like they're connected to you and that you understand who they are and what they need, that's what is termed a generational mistake. It's a completely new generation of buyer that you'll be selling to in 15 years. So stepping back, is this important to B2B? How do you personalize it? The good news is most likely you have a much smaller base of an audience to be personal to. In other words, if I'm selling Nike shoes, I'm selling to the world and I'm selling to anybody that buys shoes. However, if I'm selling this piece of equipment, there might only be 300 companies that would buy my equipment. I get to do what I can to be very personally engaged with the buyers and procurement people at each of these companies. So,
Shep, I think B2B actually has it easier than B2C. If you walk into my restaurant or cafe or quick service restaurant, I don't know anything about you if I'm new or you're new. Versus in the B2B world, I could look up, I have the CR,
there's a lot of information you can get.
And people are saying, well, what about in the pandemic? It's even easier because right now, if I didn't know you, I see that you have guitars, right? I see that you have, your kids on the wall. I'm seeing so much customer intelligence that I can personalize the conversation or the follow-up gift.
This is the secret service that you talk about in the book, Secret Service.
Right, which is all about personalization. And that's why it's a key thing in your book to making them come back again and again.
Yeah, but that's why I stress that in the B2B world, it may be easier to get that information. Plus, you go on LinkedIn, you can learn a lot. You can do a lot of intel.
Yes.
However, the mistake that you make along the way could cost you business. It's harder to get that business back often. So we look at it that way. And I think that B2B needs to get this. Every customer, regardless of whether they're B2B or B2C, no longer compares whoever they're doing business with to a direct competitor. They compare it to the best service experience they've received from anyone. And that could be Amazon, a restaurant, or whatever. And I was working with a healthcare group, and we were talking about this situation. And the guy said, we ordered a $500,000 piece of X-ray or imaging equipment, as he called it. And when we order this, we have to actually create a room that makes this, that has the proper electricity, that's, certain size, whatever. And they told us when it would be there. Okay. It shows up early, like not just a day early, but weeks early. And this is what the guy says. I ordered toilet paper from Amazon and they email me to tell me it's on its way. Don't you think this company could have told me this machine was going to be in 2-3 weeks earlier, whatever it was? And I'm thinking this guy just compared the $500,000, medical equipment to toilet paper.
Right. But he's right. Listen, you probably aren't prepared for, that room, or where are you going to put that thing? Right? Keep it on the back dock for 2 weeks while we build out this room. No, I love that. So, Shep, let's talk about, I got a staff of 20 or 2,000, multiple locations, multiple departments, one location. How do I get this ingrained I call it, I want to avoid employee roulette, right? Where, your experience is based on, well, if you get Jennifer, woo, but if you get Cindy, depends on what kind of day she's having today.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Cindy Hyken, and not at all.
No, you're not talking about my wife now. Yeah.
No.
But hey, I think that it's all baked into the culture, and there's so many different things we can talk about related to that. And there's a chapter in the book focused on creating that I'll be back culture. And it starts with, you got to have the right people on the bus, right? So that means if you don't have the right people currently, you've got to train them to get them up to speed, or determine they need to be taken off the front line, move somewhere else. But if they're really a bad apple, one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch. Even somebody that never sees a customer. Internally, people support each other, and they support people that takes care of the customer. So anyway, that's the start. You've got to train people the right way. You've got to come up with what I call the mantra. You mentioned Horst Schulze earlier. His mantra, or credo as he calls it, is, when ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. It's 9 words long. It's easy to memorize. You've got to define what you want the service experience to be, communicate it, train everybody to it. It is baked in the culture. Leaders have to emulate and demonstrate.
I was going to say internally. That, it starts with the leaders, right? They have to live it, love it, or leave it. They have to embody it internally and externally. There's so many examples where a leader will tell off a customer, or after they hang up, talk about the customer's nuts. Well, then, now your employee starts talking about that, that customer, another customer's nuts. No customer's nuts, right? There
are some. There's a chapter in the book about terminating, why customers terminate you. And at the end, I say, but there are reasons you might want to terminate the customer.
Right.
And you know what? Number one is they're nuts. No.
Do you know what I do? We have a great solution for difficult customers. Do you know what it is?
Introduce them to the competition.
Send them to you.
Oh, thank you very much.
That's why you lost all your hair.
Yeah, I know. Every time I had a difficult customer, I plucked the hair out of my head.
All right, one more thing, Shep. Tell us about loyalty killers and how that can terminate your relationship and your equity.
Well, loyalty killers, that's what, why would a customer say hasta la vista, baby? And it's because, I'll give you a few of them. Number one is, you were apathetic toward them. You showed no real interest, and people they don't even care about me. Okay. Number two is they're rude, and I actually, there's not much of a difference between rudeness and apathy, other than I think rudeness evokes emotion, because you kind of get aggravated and angry at the people who are rude at you, where apathy, it's like, so what? They don't care about me. I don't care about them.
Next.
Yeah, next. There's other reasons like, hey, you made it hard to connect with somebody to help. It might be, I went online to find your phone number, and it took me 20 minutes of going through pages and pages, and finally in the fine print, I found it. Okay.
Right.
What's that about? You didn't respond to me. Like I sent you an email and 7 days later, I'm still waiting for a response. I called you and 3 hours later, I'm still on hold. These are reasons that customers want to say you're terminated. And the flip side is you might want to terminate the customer. Maybe that customer is abusive to your people. And it really sends a strong message when the leader gets on with the phone with the customer, talks to the customer and says, you know what, you're not right for us. And even tells them why. You are so disrespectful to my employee. I can't put them in that situation. Let me introduce you to John DiJulius. Let me introduce you to a competitor. And then, maybe the customer just doesn't pay the bills. And at a certain point in time, you try to give them every break you can, but you got to say it's time to move on. And there's another reason in there. I'll let you buy the book and figure it out.
No, I did. And listen, even in these times, one of the things I recommend, and I don't mean it literally, but I mean it, is fire 15% of your customers, right?
Yeah.
And focus on the 20% that produce you 80%, right? Many companies are losing employees. So that's okay, right? Let's focus and go deeper with our existing ones instead of the high maintenance ones who are so unprofitable and sucking the life and energy out of us.
Right. So important. And I know when you start looking at your customers, you say, which one should I get rid of? And there's the old saying that's 20% of your customers responsible for a majority or even as high as 80% of your business. Well, I don't think I'd want to get rid of the other 80%. But what I might do is say, okay, what do I need to do to get the bottom 20% up to the next level, or get the second level 20% up to the highest level 20%. We can look at it that way. And there might be a point where you say some customers aren't profitable and we need to decide if we want to do business with them. Something Merrill Lynch did years ago is they decided they wanted to focus on high net worth families or individuals. And what that meant is that they were no longer going to allow their financial advisors to deal one-on-one with low net worth individuals that were taking the same amount of time as high net worth, but having such a small impact on their bottom line. Right. Now, there's an argument that says, yeah, but I remember I started with my financial advisor when I didn't have anything. And look at me today. He's very happy. He didn't say, Shep, you don't make enough money to do business.
Convertible.
Right. I wanted to be just like you. So that's why we have to be very careful. But what Merrill Lynch said is we're still going to take care of all these lower income clients or lower net worth clients. We are going to have a group of advisors that focuses just on them. And it was a pretty cool concept. I don't know if they're still doing it or not, but when they were rolling that out, I thought, well, I'm intrigued. They're really focusing on that top 20%, but they're not throwing away the others, because at some point those others are going to come into a level where they'd want to have them working with the individual advisors.
I'll be back. How to get customers to come back again and again. I just read this. It just came out this week. It's already a bestseller, like all his 7 other books. And I'll tell you, honestly, when I read customer service books, right, this is all I talk about. This is all I regurgitate. I've written my own. I scan through them because, it's saying the same thing, but yours isn't. I loved it. I read it. I digested it. I wrote notes. I highlighted it. This is phenomenal. In the show notes, and I'll tell you, go to Amazon and order I'll Be Back. But I also have in the show notes the links to shephyken.com, and how to get in touch with Shep, how to order his book on Amazon or directly from his website. One thing before I let you go, Shep, I know you know this, but I want to make sure I reiterate. I want my listeners to know this. We are good friends today. I think, it's been 20 some years. And I was just getting started off. I was speaking a few times for peanuts, if I even got paid. And I wanted to write a book. And I read, of course, your first couple of books and The Loyal Customer, right? That was the one that started it for you and I. One of your clients saw me in an event. And he said, I got this little book. And he gave it to you. So I read it and I'm like, I'm going to reach out to this guy. I'm sure he's, going to blow me off, but, I just want to pick his brain. And from the first time, you were so generous and you introduced me to publishers and editors and literary agents and everything. And, you had no idea if I was, legit, if I was just blowing smoke. And then I'd see you at NSA and I'd say, hey, I don't know if you remember
NSA,
me.
the National Speakers
Association,
not the Security Administration.
Right. And again, this might be 99, 2000, 2001. And I run up to you, I said, Shep, I don't know if you remember, but we spoke, and you remember it in your house, Cleveland, and we sat down here just in the city. And you've always been great. And we've become close and we've spoken on the same stage several times. I've had you speak at my conference twice. We've referred each other clients when they need another customer service speaker. We've been out to dinner, slept at each other's houses in different rooms, but hundreds of times our families have broken bread.
Important.
And my point is that there's that old cliche that you never want to meet your idol because it could spoil what you think of them. And you've exceeded it. You are a world-class human being. You've been so generous, so good to me. I can't thank you enough for the mentor, and just person you are.
Thank you. And you know what? I ditto to you. You become a great friend. I mean, look at your business. I think that, and if I take a look at your business, you've grown an organization. You're bigger than I am. I mean, I love it. When you first started out, it's like we're talking about what do I need to say at my next speech? And you were already doing speeches. To give you credit, you were already working in the hair industry.
Yes.
And you were giving, because you own salons and you would go and you would talk to them about how to build out their practices and all that. But when you decided to attack the rest of the world,
right?
That's where we needed to say, okay, we need to get John DiJulius well known. And we've had mastermind days where we sit there and we say, okay, what can we do to help each other out? And we mastermind together. And this is, you're as much a direct competitor as anybody, but I'm happy to give you my entire client list. Have you sleep in my home,
right?
In a different bedroom.
Yes. Well, I can't thank you enough, Shep. And something I'll guarantee while I ask you, what's the likelihood that I can get you back?
Easily, because I'll be back.
All right. Try to do that. Thank you, Revolutionaries, for another episode of the Customer Service Revolution. Go out, get Shep Hyken's book, I'll Be Back, How to Get Customers to Come Back Again and Again. Share it with your team. It is something that'll be well worth, and it will move the needle on the customer experience and employee experience you deliver. We will see you next week. Thank you. Thank you, Shep.
Thanks for listening and being part of the Customer Service Revolution. To be sure that you don't miss a future episode, be sure to subscribe now on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.